Panther Nation, Rockstar Gang, what up, what up, what up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. I'm on my lunch break right now, so I was like, this is the best time for me to go today based off my schedule. You know, I go live like every single day, but I know it's different times, and it's just based off my availability, guys. I'm a busy man right now. I am a busy man. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But still getting it in, still grinding this away. All right. Hopefully, the reason if I continue to do this every single day, maybe I can just do this full time. You know, maybe I could just do this full time. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. But it is what it is. We are here and we are queer. I'm just kidding. All right. Let's get right into it. A lot to talk about today. Obviously, the biggest news is obviously the whole Brian Burns ordeal. I'm been tired of talking about the whole Brian Burns thing. I've told y'all before. I've told y'all multiple times that this was going to happen. I told y'all multiple times this was going to happen. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew that. Here we go, internet. Internet's acting up. Love it. It's at least one live stream. At least one live stream where my internet's just going to start bucking up. But it's an inevitable situation, folks. This whole situation is just inevitable because we just got done with the NFL Combine. We just got done with the NFL Combine. And the Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Panthers are still poised to take a strategic action in retaining their star, Brian Burns. And obviously, there's reports that indicate that there's a near certainty of Panthers utilizing that franchise tag, okay? A move that really underscores the team's commitment to securing that presence amidst ongoing negotiations on that long-term deal. And that's per sources of Graziano and Fowler over there on ESPN. Now, the franchise tag, if you don't know what it means, it's a tool for NFL teams, basically, okay? What that tool does is it allows them to retain valuable free agents for an additional year under a determined salary, all right, a predetermined salary. So ensuring crucial talents remaining on the roster. And again, let me share my screen real quick. I wanted to pull this up for you guys. Where is it at? There it is. So this is what I wanted to pull up right here. So this is this is one of the reports. There's multiple reports out there. So you can do your research yourself if you want. But there's multiple reports out there. But anyways. So basically, once they do that tag, right, the talent still remains on the roster while negotiations for them to still negotiate and see if they can, get a contract together. Or they do the ordeal like which I predicted before, and I think it's going to happen. It's a tag or trade ordeal. I think Brian, the thing is for me is this. The reason why we're in the situation that we're in with this whole Brian Burns ordeal is because of Scott Fitter. Because of the negotiations he made in these contracts. And just for example, some contracts like Dante Jackson, Taylor Moton, Shaq Thompson. These are the contracts that are killing our salary cap. This is the reason why you can't afford to sign your biggest players. All right. You can't afford to sign Brian Burns. There is a world where Carolina could re-sign Frankie Louvu, extend Derek Brown, and sign Brian Burns, but it's going to take a lot of negotiations, lot of restructuring contracts, and cutting certain players, right? And we all know the whole situation with Brian Burns. Okay, we know the whole situation with Brian Burns. We offered him 27. It doesn't seem like it's in the. We're not even in the same ballpark. All right. He believes he's worth $30 million, and I respect him as a man to believe who he is and what he's done. Some people believe that he's better than certain people that I think that are better than him. I mean, stats don't lie. But again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Brian Burns is good. He's great. He's a superstar, but he's not elite. There's a difference between superstar and elite. Go look at Max Crosby. Go look at TJ Watt. Go look at Myles Garrett. Those guys are elite. Okay. But we're also in this situation too because Scott Fitter also chose to not take 2 first-round picks from the Los Angeles Rams. So a 2024 first-round pick, a 2025 first-round pick. I think no. It was a 2023 first-round pick. I apologize. 2024 first-round pick and a 2024 second-round pick from the Los Angeles Rams. So he refused to do that. And then the negotiations started talking last summer. We kept hearing about it. He's waiting out for Nick Bosa. And we did some research on the channel. We found out that Nick Bosa's agent works with the same agent that Brian Burns works with. They're not the same agent, but they work at the same agency. So different agents, but same agency. But I never understood the whole ordeal, why Brian Burns would be waiting out because of Nick Bosa's contract at the time. But again, it doesn't matter. You know how I feel about this situation. I've been very vocal about it. This strategy, though, for this whole ordeal, though, mirrors a broader picture within the league because teams increasingly employ the franchise tag to really negotiate with pivotal players. So the decision to potentially franchise tag Burns, to me, exemplifies the Panthers' vision, really trying to emphasizing the importance of securing that top talent in negotiations and continue to bolster up this defensive lineup to sustain success, right, on the defensive side of the ball. Now, negotiations for a long-term deal with Burns, obviously we all know has hit the pause button, right? So the franchise tag serves as a temporary solution, which is allowing them to continue discussions. Now, General Manager Dan Morgan affirmed that the team's readiness to utilize the tag if necessary, highlighting their admiration for Burns, their commitment for him, but to also explore all options available. I know that the franchise tag deadline is looming, so the Panthers are at a pivotal standoff here with the decision to tag Burns, reflecting their priorities or the strategic vision of the future of this franchise, whatever you want to call it. I think regardless of the outcome, these negotiations, I think, are going to provide valuable insights into the evolving landscape of the NFL, where securing top talent is paramount for the long-term success. But like I said before, and I'll say it again, I told you so. I told you that the Panthers were going to franchise tag Brian Burns and they were going to trade him because they can't afford him. It's not that they don't want to re-sign him. I don't think that the Panthers don't want to re-sign him. I don't think that they don't want him here. And I think some people, content creators, Panthers fans alike, believe that they just don't care about their big talent players. They don't want to sign them. Blah 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 blah. If you really know football, there is a cap space. There is a cap space that you have to think about. You have other players that you have to extend and sign. The issue that it comes down to is the fact of the matter that Scott Fitterer made some bad negotiations in the past that has now put the Carolina Panthers in the place that they're in now due to the fact of restructuring contracts and re-signing guys and signing guys for terrible contracts. And also, we're also still paying players that aren't even on this team anymore, that are elsewhere, like CMC and DJ Moore. So you also got a lot of dead money. So the issue is not the fact that Carolina doesn't want Brian Burns. It's not the fact that Brian Burns is not a great player. It's the fact that they can't afford him. It's simple and easy as that, and everybody's taking it to a whole nother level. Like, I was watching the Black Cat Panther podcast. I love those boys, but they're taking it over a whole different level than really what it is. It's the fact of the matter that it comes down to the fact that we can't afford the guy. He wants $30 million a year. Look at the cap space. It does not fit. You also have to extend Derek Brown. You also have to re-sign Frankie Louvu. Oh, I'm pissed too, though, Mad Chatter. I'm pissed about this whole situation, and I'm sick and tired of talking about the Brian Burns negotiations. It comes down to the fact that the Panthers, ex-GM Scott Fitterer, made bad contract negotiations, made bad restructures, made bad re-signs, made bad extensions, and now it has fucked us into the position that we're in, that we can't re-sign the key players that we want to re-sign. Okay? That's what I want people to understand. That's what I want people to understand. Not that I think that, like, do I think that, and I'm with you. I'm with you, Matt Chatter. I don't think we need him either. I think that there's plenty of people out there that we could get to bring in. And if he's not willing to take the contract that we gave him at the $27 million, then yeah, we don't need him. Because we can't afford you, and that's it. We're going to tag and trade you, and simple and easy as that. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. It's like I said before. I mean, I've been on this whole Brian Burns thing since last summer, and I'm so sick and tired of talking about it. It's not even funny, but we're still here talking about it. And that's the thing that frustrates me the most. Because I feel like this should have been done a long time ago. Like this, still talking about it. You know, another thing with this whole ordeal with the Brian Burns thing is that, you know, is that I think that I'm trying to get my words out. I want to say this because I want people to realize where I'm coming from with this because I feel like we have because here's the thing. We have our fan base is so diverse. One minute it's like, oh, we shouldn't have traded him. Oh, we shouldn't re-sign him. Oh, we should have kept him. Um, dude, I am lagging like crazy, folks. I am sorry. Of course, my internet wants to act up. Dude, what is going on? All right, are we good? Like, what's good? What's good? Hold on, guys. I am lagging like crazy. Why? What's the point of paying for Wi-Fi? Jesus Christ! Why are we lagging so fucking hard? I mean, this is ridiculous. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but we're just gonna continue with the show. Screw it. So anyways, let me get back to this whole thing because what we're talking with the whole contract negotiations too, it's a $3 million difference too. Okay, it's a $3 million difference. Okay, so there's that. I just think that, in my opinion, I mean, it just makes no sense to me, and I'm just sick and tired of talking about it. I'm sick and tired of talking about this whole thing with Brian Burns. Um, it is what it is. It is what it is. So I told you, I'm just going to tell y'all once, and I'm going to tell you again. I told y'all before, Brian Burns was going to get traded. He's going to get tagged, and he's going to get traded. Basically, and it's basically over $3 million. But it's also, again, it comes down to the fact that who is Brian Burns? A player? We are a team by Brian. Exactly, AJ. I mean, I feel the same way. It's like I said, though. You have to look towards the future. You have to be able to re-sign Frankie Louvu, and you got to be able to extend Derek Brown. This guy wants $30 million. He's not going to get $30 million. We offered him 27, so there's a $3 million dilemma there. And then on top of that, the guy's not even an elite pass rusher. He's not even in the same category as Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. I'd even say Nick Bosa. I'd even say TJ Watt. There's a lot of guys that I could connect. I would say there's even Micah Parsons. Even though they're kind of a different positional player, but if we're talking about guys who get after the quarterback, he's not even in the same category. Is he top 15? Absolutely. Is he top 12? I would say so. Is he top 10? I think you can make the case, but at top 5, absolutely not. But he's just not a guy. It's not that I don't want Brian Burns here. It's again that I told you this. Scott Fitterer screwed us with all the things that I was saying before my internet decided to rudely interrupt the show. It has to do with the fact that Scott Fitterer, our ex-GM, ruined this team due to the fact of the contract negotiations he's made with certain players, like I said, for example, Dante Jackson, Taylor Moton, and who else was the other one? Shaq Thompson. Okay. So those contracts are the reason why we're in the position that we're in now. Okay. So that's why you can't afford it. So you have to look out. Now you have to look elsewhere. There are cheaper options out there. Bryce Huff is one out of the Jets. You bring in Derek Brown, you extend Derek Brown, you sign Frankie Louvu, and then you get draft capital out of Brian Burns, and that's the best case scenario at this point. All right, but the thing is with the thing that I want people to realize is that I don't think that Carolina doesn't want this man. I think that people need to understand, and certain fans need to understand, you can't afford him. You pay him, you're not going to be able to afford anyone else. We need multiple things here. So if you pay one guy that's going to take $30 million off your cap that you really can't even afford, how are you expecting to fill in these other voids that this team needs? So explain that to me. Make that make sense. Because we have a fan base that's so diverse, that is so, like I said before, I feel that our fan base is so player oriented. And it's not just for Brian Burns. There's fans out there that are just Bryce Young. There's fans out there that are just Frankie Louvu, Derek Brown. We need their fan base. Our fan base goes based off the players, not the team as a whole. Sometimes I feel like you can't sign everyone. You can't extend everyone. You can't re-sign everyone. It just doesn't work that way. This is the NFL. It just doesn't work that way. And you just can't sign everyone. And that's just the way it is. Whether you like it or not, that is the way it is. And the thing is that if you re-sign a guy like Brian Burns, you can't re-sign Frankie Louvu, and you might not even be able to afford to extend Derek Brown. So really you lose two players for the price of one. Because it's nearly impossible. I've broken it down in the cap space. It's nearly impossible for us to sign Brian Burns, the contract he wants, and then be able to extend Derek Brown next year and re-sign Frankie Louvu this year as well. It's nearly impossible. And then we're talking about trying to get someone, a guard or a wide receiver and free agent. See, you're not going to be able to do that either. So, again, there are cheaper options out there. Bryce Huff is only around, I think his market value is around $9 million, who could be a good replacement. And then you tag and trade Brian Burns. You get the value out of him. It's still to this day, it grinds all of our gears. It has to grind our gears about how we had 2 first-round picks and a two first-round picks. So one in 2023, a future in 2024, and a second in 2024. Yeah, future second in 2024. 2022 trade deadline. The 2022 trade deadline, the Los Angeles Rams offered the Carolina Panthers a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 first-round pick, and a 2024 second-round pick, and did not accept it. But yet, then Scott Fitter screwed us on all the contract negotiations, extensions, re-sign, and all that. So, at the end of the day, you can thank Scott Fitter for where we're at in this situation, because it's his fault. It's nobody else's fault except Scott Fitter. You could probably also, I bet you, the bald-headed son of a bitch has the owner of ours is definitely involved in this. But again, guys, you just can't re-sign everyone, especially when we're in rebuild mode. And I think if we sign Brian Burns, we're not going to be able to extend. I just don't see a world where you're able to re-sign Brian Burns, re-sign Frankie Louvu, and extend Derek Brown. I just don't see it. I'd rather be able to re-sign Frankie Louvu and extend Derek Brown the next year, and then be able to get value out of Brian Burns, and then sign like a guy to replace him like Bryce Huff, and then be able to go into get a guard or a wide receiver in free agency, because we're in rebuild mode. We've been retooling for the past 4 or 5 years, and where has that gotten us? 2-15. Yeah, and we also have to be careful with these contract negotiations. So I'm looking forward to the draft. I'm looking forward for this whole situation to just blow over. I'm ready for it to be over with. We are the worst team. We overplay players. Yes, we do. Have you ever heard her cost benefit analysis? I have. Yes, his fan base is very player. They are. A lot of people are like, you gotta keep Brian Burns. I want Brian Burns. Even though I say he's not in the Max Crosby or TJ Watt level, but he's still a great player. And he's the best pass rusher on our team, sure. But we can't afford him. I mean, it's just simple as easy as that. And if you sign him, you're not going to be able to afford the other guys that you need to sign, like Louvu and Brown. Did Kelce retire? I think he's having a press conference today about his retirement. Oh, he did retire? He already announced it? On a position that don't matter right now at these beginning stages. I feel that. We're gonna trade Dante Jackson or cut him. If it's me, I'm trading Dante Jackson. But wait, there's breaking news. I'm going to stop sharing my screen on that. I'll share my screen for the next thing here in a minute because we're going to be talking about free agents. Okay. Dante Jackson, what happened? These ads are kicking me out of the stream. I don't know why the ads keep kicking you out. I don't know why. Jackson needs to go. Yeah, he does need to go. Dante Jackson is on his way out. Wow. Okay. Let's look. Let's see what's going on with Dante Jackson here. I mean, it doesn't say it's an NFLrumors.co. It says it's expected to release. Jeremy Fowler reports to release cornerback Dante Jackson. That's really it. So, which I mean, again, I told y'all if they release him, they'll save $5.9 million in cap space. So, no, I'm not. I can barely cover just the Panthers, man. I'm only doing Panthers and NFL content. I will only do Panthers and NFL content. I could do the Hornets, but I just it's too much. It's too much. Tillis already cooking. Dante Jackson thrown out the door. Yeah, I want to see if it again. I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that was gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, here it is right here, folks. Jeremy Fowler. Expected to trade or release veteran Dante Jackson per sources. Jackson has a $4 million roster bonus due March 16th. Should spur action. A release would save $5.9 million in cap. Yep. CJ Henderson on the team, they would have to re-sign him, Josh. They would have had to re-sign him. They'll have to re-sign him. He's technically he's a free agent. Morgan and Tillis Law Firm already looking good. I mean, dude, I told y'all this was going to happen. Tillis is going to be a guy. And listen, I guarantee you, just watch. Just watch. This Carolina Panthers fan base is going to go nuts when they tag and trade Brian Burns and they freaking cut, release or trade whichever one they decide to do with Dante Jackson here. I know it says per sources, but are expected to release. They might trade him. I mean, I know that it says they are expected to release him, but I mean, I told y'all this too. Because what they're going to do is they're going to go into the free agency. They're going to try to get a wide receiver and they're going to try to get a guard. Or they're doing this to try to sign Brian Burns. But again, we shall see. We shall see what they decide to do. I mean, there's so much involved in this stuff, man. So the NFL is just nuts. I'm starting to think we're going to draft a new corner this year. I mean, I would have done it even if they kept Dante Jackson. You need a trade or a huge dead cap. Yep. Well, we're definitely going to need another corner for sure. I say trade Derrick Brown. No, absolutely not. You're going to build around Derrick Brown. That's the thing. If they are doing things that we think are good moves, come on, that's light years from where we are. Super excited. I mean, AJ Brooks, I mean, y'all been watching my show. Did I not say that we need to cut these certain guys with bad contracts? Dante Jackson was one of them. Taylor Moton, you're not going to cut him or release him. You're not going to be it, and you're probably not going to trade him. The only thing they can do with his contract is try to restructure it. You can't restructure Shaq Thompson's because he's on his last contract and there's nothing you can do with him. If we're looking at other guys, Ian Thomas and Cherish Marshall Jr. need to be cut. So that will save probably an extra 2-point-something million between those two guys, I'm pretty sure. And then really, if I'm doing anything, you're gonna have to either look at restructuring Hayden Hurst or trade him, or you release him and take the dead money, or Von Bell, you either restructure or trade him, and you re-sign Jeremy Chin and move him back to his position. I mean, there's multiple ways that the Carolina Panthers can go about these roster moves. Well, Miles Sanders is getting a shit ton of money. You need to restructure his contract. Yeah, it says 5.9. They would save 5.9 million on the cap. So Morgan wants to keep Derrick Brown. Zach, absolutely. Yeah, he does. I want to keep Derrick Brown. I mean, he's still under contract, so he's fine. I mean, he's on the last year of that contract that he restructured. So, breaking news, everyone. Dante Jackson to be released. So, it is what it is. All right, let's move on. The show must go on. Let's present. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the guard position now. Okay. I want to talk about the guard position. All right. So, the Carolina Panthers, I think, are going to plan to prioritize adding a guard to their roster and the free agency. I think they're going to do it also in the draft as well. I think they'll draft either a center, and I think they're going to get two. I think they're going to get two interior guys in the draft at least. It's either going to be center and either left guard, right guard, or whichever one, or it's going to be left guard, right guard. I just know it's going to be one of the two. It's either going to be a center and a left guard or a right guard, or they go both guards, right? But I know in the free agency, I think this is the reason why we're going to see guys getting released. I think Ian Thomas and Terrace Marshall will be guys that get released. I don't know who else will get released. Obviously, Dante Jackson's in that category as well. But obviously, the main goal here is no matter what, we all know what the main goal here is. It's for the Panthers to build around Bryce Young. It's simple as easy as that. You can make the narrative you want, but that's what it is. Because mainly their guards last year were nowhere to be found. Okay, so as we're going through this, we're going to go through some guys. Okay, and we know that offensive line last year represented Swiss cheese. Okay, so the Panthers front office, we know that they are aware of this issue, and they're definitely prioritizing adding new guards to their roster. I think through this free agency, Joe Parsons over at The Athletic has reported that the organization is obviously interested in at least adding one guard this offseason, but I think they're going to at least two, if not maybe three, whether it's through free agency or the draft. They have to. It's not that they want to. They have to fortify this offensive line because they have to address the absurd number of injuries and the inconsistent play of that position. And Jeremy Fowler's even come out and said that a handful of teams that are really need guard help are also the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Giants, and the Jets. So we're going to have some competition in trying to, whether it's through free agency or the draft, trying to get the guys that we want, right? and you started the 2023 season with Austin Corbett, who was just recovered with an ACL, comes back in week 7, and then just after 4 games, injures the same knee, not an ACL because it was an ACL the first time. This time it's an MCL. So his career might even be over. I mean, I don't know how bad the MCL tear was. MCLs I do know a little bit about. It's the interior of your knee, if I'm not mistaken. The ACL is the outer tier of your knee. So he already tore the outside of it. He had to have surgery and recover and all that. The MCL, you can either, depends on the tear. He either could have torn it really bad where he has to have surgery, or he could have tore it, and if he gets surgery, it's not really going to make it any better. And basically, physical therapy is your best way out, right? I just know a little bit about that stuff. I was an exercise science major, and I also tore my MCL in college, so it's neither here nor there. But Brady Christensen, that's another issue. We lost him to a bicep tear last year, obviously, and that was in the opening game against the Falcons. Did not return, and by the end of the season, Panthers had 6 different starters and players, or different players. Sorry, I should say starters, players at left guard, right? We had 6 different players at left guard, and we had 7 at right, which is not an ideal situation for any team. So, to make matters worse, on top of that, we know Young was sacked over 62 times during that last season. So, which is the second highest in the NFL. So, obviously, it's clear that the Panthers need to address the guard position. All right. It's a problem that they need to address sooner rather than later. Wait, what happened? That was the best half hour of my life. I would feel so. Okay, sorry. So, you just can't put your young quarterback at that kind of risk anymore. So I think the guard has got to be a top priority. I think that for the Kevin Dotson, Robert Hunt, Kevin Zietler, Dalton Risner, Ezra Cleveland, who's a left guard, Damian Lewis, John Runyon, Jonah Jackson. I think the most realistic guys, I don't know why they have Ezra Cleveland. I'm pretty sure, I thought Ezra Cleveland was a left. Let me click on his PFF profile. I thought he was a left guard. Yeah, he's a left guard. I don't know why they're comparing him to Austin Corbett. He's a right guard. Austin Corbett's a right guard. I think this guy's a realistic approach for his value. I think Ezra would be a realistic. I mean, Robert Hunt, you're probably going to be paying at right guard. You're going to be paying him his market value is way up there, if I'm not mistaken. His market value is way up there. So I don't know if they would be able to afford him. I think guys like, they might be able to afford him. I don't know. Maybe I think Kevin Dotson is up there too. Who's also a right guard. But I think like the most, I would say Dalton Risner at right guard. I'm pretty sure he's right guard. No, he's left guard. Yeah, he didn't do too well there either. I think the most, at least for the left guard position, Dalton Risner and Ezra Cleveland will probably be the most, I think, realistic options at the left guard position. Maybe Damian Lewis as well. But at the right guard position, you're going to have to pay more money for guys like Kevin Dotson, Robert Hunt. So if it's me, because I think Brady Christensen can bounce back from a bicep tear than a Austin Corbett. Than an Austin Corbett who tore his bicep. Or not, I mean, Brady Christian coming off a bicep tear can come back to his normal self than a guy like Austin Corbett who just came off an ACL tear, then tears his MCL. You know what I mean? So I think that if it's me and I'm going to go into free agency and I'm going to sign a guy, I think I got to go with either Kevin Dotson or Robert Hunt. I think they'll be able to afford him. If they continue to make moves like they're doing with Dante Jackson and stuff like that, I think they'll definitely be able to afford him and get the guard they need. Clay Go inside source. He timed it with breaking. I mean, I told y'all. I told y'all that it was going to happen. I told y'all it was going to happen. Same thing with Brian Burns. I told y'all. It's going to be tag and trade now. Unless they maneuver the cap enough to sign him, but I just don't see the point in doing that. Yeah. Shaq as a person pisses me off. The sooner we cut him loose, the better. I know he's here for at least one more year. This would be his last year on the contract, AJ Brooks. Watch us try to get something in return before we cut him. I know, man. Why you ain't like Shaq? It's not his fault he fleeced the front office. It's not his fault, is right. You can thank Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly for fleecing our front office for those. But this is true, too. He also probably knew about it, too. He also knew about it. Looks like the training burn. I mean, Ropp, you can't afford him. I mean, people got to understand this. This is what I'm talking about here. Rock, I love you. I appreciate you joining the live stream. I appreciate your support on the channel. But I got to let y'all know this, man. It's no hard feelings, but you got to understand that our GM screwed us. Simple as easy as that. Our GM screwed us, okay? Our GM, Scott Fitterer, screwed us with the contract negotiations and the restructuring of contracts and the re-signing of guys, and also signing guys and releasing them, and think about it this way: Hassan Reddick, Denzel Perryman, Stephon Gilmore. Who else am I missing on that? You know, CMC, DJ Moore, okay, Dante Jackson, Shaq Thompson, Taylor Moton, all these guys that we've either re-signed, released, let go, who are on the team or off the team. We're still paying DJ Moore, CMC. I'm pretty sure we're still paying Hassan Reddick, Stephon Gilmore, and Denzel Perryman. Like, Fitterer has literally screwed us. It's nobody else's fault except our own GM's fault for re-signing and signing guys that has put us in this position to not be able to afford guys like Brian Burns. It's nobody's fault except Scott Fitterer. It's not that the Carolina Panthers don't want to sign him. They just can't afford him. And that's what I want our fan base to understand. So Panthers fans, if you're watching this, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching, it's nobody's fault except Scott Fitterer. Don't forget about the trades that he also turned down for him to keep him here. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about the 2 first-round picks and a future second round, or the 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick that Scott Fitterer turned down in the 2022 trade deadline from the Los Angeles Rams for Brian Burns. Don't forget about that. So, again, if you want to blame anybody, blame Scott Fitterer. All right, so some other rumors here. YGM is the talk of the town, or at least the talk of some NFL teams. He's reportedly has drawn some attention lately to multiple teams ahead of free agency. If the Carolina Panthers want to keep him, they might have to fight a bit to keep him on this roster. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you think that the Carolina Panthers should keep Mr. YGM. Because he is getting some attention from other teams. He had his most productive season this past year, even without he had his most productive season as a pass rusher, I would say, in 2020, which he finished with like 4.5 sacks despite missing 7 games due to a hamstring. But he also had a solid setting the edge and has shown signs of improvement as a pass rusher. So he's done well. He did well this. I thought he did pretty well for having an injury this year as well. Still getting 5 sacks. Maybe it wasn't the 2020 season that was the most productive. Okay, 2021 he had 4. 2022 he had 3. I would say 2023 would probably be the most productive compared to the 2020. I thought maybe the 2020. I thought the 2020 season was his best one. 2022, he did do very well. I mean, 27 solos, 25 assists, 3 sacks. Just, I mean, again, not like not very much here. You know what I mean? An attack and trade is definitely going to happen for sure. YGM and shake ahead. I'm off to work tomorrow, so looking forward to your live tomorrow. Yeah, Josh, I will be live tomorrow. YGM stepped up this year. Yeah, he did. So, I mean, let me know in the comments if y'all think that maybe since he has shown signs of improvement as a pass rush, and I feel like YGM has thrived in this new system under Evero. So, compared to the previous role as a 4-3 end, the Panthers are without fresh deals to fellow pass rushers like Brian Burns and Marquise Haynes. If they want to keep somewhat of a pass rush, I think that YGM would be a cheap option, and they might have to start considering re-signing him if they can't, obviously keep Brian Burns. Which like I said, I predicted that wasn't going to happen anyway. So y'all let me know. Will the Panthers be able to keep YGM on this roster, or will they will he move on to another team? Only time will tell. All right, let's move on to Mr. Brian Burns. Let's talk about one more thing. I want to talk about a couple things here with Mr. Brian Burns, because if he does get tagged in trade, okay, where will he go? Where could he end up being? I've seen teams that could be who are definitely interested in an edge rusher to add to their team. I think one of the prime landing spots for Mr. Brian Burns is definitely Minnesota. Because if they don't bring back Daniel Hunter there in Minnesota, who is obviously to become a free agent, who is a free agent right now, Burns, who's only now is 26, I believe. He is 26. Could be, I think he could be an ideal replacement there for Minnesota if he decides to, if Hunter decides to take his talents elsewhere. I think the Vikings also have plenty of cap salary to make the move, especially if they don't, especially if Kirk Cousins leaves the team. And the Vikings are in a rebuilding phase, which means they also might be moving on from Justin Jefferson. I've heard there's a lot of reports going around that Justin Jefferson does not want to be in Minnesota if they don't re-sign Kirk Cousins, and that's a problem. But I mean, for the Vikings, adding Burns to their defense obviously could be a step in the right direction if they're definitely rebuilding there. And the thing is does Brian Burns want to go to a team that's in a full rebuild mode like Minnesota, if that's the case, right? I mean, that he might as well just stay here. But unless he's just going for the money and they offer him that $30 million contract, well, he might be willing to go. Obviously. I also think the possibility of the Detroit Lions could be an attractive option for Burns, especially if he wants to leave a team that has mismanaged his contracts and others. Let's be honest. We obviously, again, we turned down a trade offer from the Los Angeles Rams at that 2022 trade deadline. Could have given us 2 first-round picks, second-round pick. Just wanted to continue to remind you of that. But the Lions, on the other hand, are a team on the rise, right? They came close. They got to the NFC Championship game last year. Obviously, they're trying to build that bigger future there. Having Birds and Aiden Hutchinson could give, I would say, one of the league's most explosive pass rushing tandems in the league. And the thing is with the Lions, that if you go look at their salary cap availability, they have over $54.29 million available. So the Lions could absorb that franchise tag before working out a long-term deal with him. Another team, the Washington Commanders. Okay, they definitely need some pass rush help there after the trades they made with Montez Sweat, Chase Young before that 2023 deadline last year. They've got 6 selections in the top 100 in this draft class, and they have over $96 million available in cap space. So they have the resources to make moves for Burns. Adam Peters has a track record of extracting good value through trades. He could do the same with the Panthers. I think while the Panthers wouldn't immediately land, while Burns wouldn't immediately land on a contender, but he would be part of the Commanders' extensive rebuild and see if they can retake their place as an NFL top team. Seattle's another one. I think this could be a dark horse candidate for Burns, especially if they don't re-sign Jamal Adams, who is set to become a free agent after this past season. So I think that Burns could be a perfect fit there. The Seahawks also have some draft capital to work with. They've got 3 picks in the top 50 in this 2024 draft. They could use some of those picks to sweeten that potential trade package for Burns. Obviously, it remains to be seen if the Panthers would be interested in that, though. So I think that's worth keeping an eye on the possibility. So those are just some teams I think. So Seattle, Washington, the Vikings, and the Lions. Those are my teams. Those are my teams I think that would trade for Brian Burns. I have faith in my GM that Burns, at least he played hard. Kelce gone, 1 to go. Wow. Can't believe Travis Kelce retired. I didn't think he was going to. I thought he might try to stick around. Sorry to think we're not getting a first round for Burns. I think you can get a first. I think you can get a first and a third at best at this point. I think you get a first and a third at best. And that's just straight up. You might be able to get a first and a second, possibly, but I just don't think so. If it's me and I'm the Carolina Panthers and I have the 33rd pick, what I'm doing is I'm trading him to the Commanders and I'm getting their first 2 second-round picks and a 4th. That would be me. You get 2 second-round picks, so you already have the 33rd pick. They have like the second-round pick. They got like the 36th pick and the 38th pick or the 39th pick in the second round. You get 3 second-round picks right there, and just in the second round. And if you could swindle more for maybe a 3rd and a 4th as well on top of that for him, so be it. I think the Bears still want him too, AJ. There's a lot of talks that GM is thirsty and hungry over there for Mr. Brian Burns. But again, I just don't see them get – I don't know what they would give up because they have the 1st and the 9th. So I just don't know if the Bears how much they would give up. Yeah. I would do that all day, yeah. Take the first 2 pick, their 2 second-round picks, and then see if you maybe can swindle them for an extra one, maybe a 3rd or a 4th. I think it'd be worth it. I think it'd be worth it. So, all right, let's move on. So let's talk about some possible players that could be making a return to Carolina. Let's talk about some possible players that could make a return to Carolina, like this guy right here. Dave Newton. Yeah, I knew that was going to see, Zach, I'm calling everything. I told y'all that Brian Burns will get tagged in trade. I told y'all that they will release or they will either cut or trade. So either release or trade Dante Jackson. I've been on this show and said that they are going to try to renegotiate with Taylor Moton. Those were the three things I think I've even said. I mean, I've obviously said a lot of things, but I've said those three things on this show. I've called three of the things that have happened so far. Just saying. Y'all can go back and watch any of the lives, and I told y'all this. Marcos, I wouldn't say they'd be fine. I think they definitely need to get some people in here. I think if you bring in a guy like Bryce Huff, which would be nice, you can get him for a cheap deal. I think he's only around, his market value is around 9 million, 12 million, between 9 and 12, which we could definitely afford. So if you brought him in, I think you could. I think you could. I think you could do it. Washington sounds great. I just don't know if a team that knows they are rebuilding does that. And you might be right, AJ. You might be right, but if they need to, if they want to have a veteran status out on that team, I mean, look no further. Who is your internet? Who is it? Your internet's mid today. I don't know. Well, I know who my internet company is, but today has been awful. Clay has the DeLorean parked out. No, I don't. I ain't got that. Keep an eye on Taylor Moton. Yep. Dude, I've been telling y'all this. I've called it 3 times. I've called already 3 out of like how many moves that I think will happen. So let's talk about this. Denzel Perryman. So there's a couple guys I think that the Panthers could go after that are free agents that could come back here. I think first on the list, guys I was looking at that maybe they could bring back was Denzel Perryman, who had a brief time with us before being traded to Vegas. Obviously, despite the clash that he had with Matt Rule, I think Perriman went on to make the Pro Bowl and has continued to be a standout player for Houston. He's got that dog mentality. So could be a guy they add to that linebacker core. Next up, you got Stephon Gilmore. So another guy I think they could bring back. Obviously, he was traded to the Panthers in 2021. Too much fanfare. Despite an injury, Gilmore played well and was expected to stay with the team beyond that season. However, the Panthers opted to let him go for whatever reason. We'll never know why. And they favored to re-sign Dante Jackson, who seems to be now the person that they're going to release. Makes sense, right? Because Gilmore then went on to thrive in Indianapolis and with the Dallas Cowboys, proving that his worth as an elite cornerback. Although he'll be 34 years old by the 2024 season, a reunion with the Panthers could possibly now that Rule and Scott Fitter are no longer with the team. Another guy I think they could bring back is Curtis Samuel. Now, Curtis Samuel, we know, left the Panthers in 2021 to reunite with former head coach Ron Rivera at the Washington Commanders. Now, Samuel continued to be a dependable asset over short to immediate routes, had a knack for creating catches after the catch. With a new regime coming in with the Commanders, Samuel probably could be looking to take his chances elsewhere, and his ability to create separation could be, I think, a welcome addition to the Panthers' passing game, especially for your rookie quarterback, Bryce Young. This is Curtis Samuel right now. Dan Clay Insider. I just got some, I got a little bit of, here or there. I just got I got a little bit of, some insights here and there. I know some people that know some people, all right? I know some people that know some people. I shoot a text and then I get a little insight, I get a little inside splash. Why to get I still to this, I think because Perriman and him didn't see eye to eye on some things. Probably called Matt Rule out on saying he doesn't know how to coach. I mean, that's what I would have done. I'm just wondering how they're going to do that renegotiation. I don't understand how the renegotiation contracts work. I only know how much the team will save if they renegotiate it, and that's based off of like Spot Track and other things. So if we go, I mean, there's different ways that you can go about it with Spot Track or contract renegotiations for them. So like if this is true, Zach, right? Right, because you said keep an eye on Taylor Moton to get negotiated. Okay, so this is the best way I can show you. If they have base salary, you restructure it, right? It only just I don't know how they do this. I don't know necessarily how this technically works. But if they renegotiate his contract, okay, it saves them $6.5 million. 6.5, which is right here, total savings, okay? All right, and they released Dante Jackson today, okay? If they released him, saves them about $5 million, all right? I mean, these are the moves that they need to make for me too. I think they need to cut ties with Terrace Marshall, and I think they need to cut ties with, where is he at? Ian Thomas. So restructure, you save 5.9 with Dante, release Terrace Marshall, release Ian Thomas. And then you're up to $49 million. I think some other moves they need to make is they either need to restructure Thielen and Hurst contracts and Von Bell, or they need to trade Von Bell, trade Thielen. I would say two options for Von Bell. You either trade him or restructure his contract. Same thing for Thielen. You either trade him or restructure his contract. Okay? Hayden Hurst, you're probably not going to be able to trade him because I don't think you're going to be able to get much value out of him. So you might as well just restructure him. Miles Sanders, I'd restructure him. Bradley Bozeman, I'm not going to trade him or release him because we need help on the offensive line anyways. So I would definitely try to restructure his contract as well. But these are the four moves that I've been talking about. I think there's other ways you can do it because, like, let's say we trade Von Bell, okay? Let's just say we process trade. You save $7 million for Von Bell, okay? But if you restructure, let's say we restructure Thielen, you save 2.6. You restructure Hayden Hurst, you save 2.4. Restructure Miles, you save 1.9. You restructure Bradley Bozeman, you save 1.5. After that, that's really it. I mean, there's not much you can do after you really mess around with those. I mean, these are the moves that I would make. Now, unless you decide to, obviously, it just depends on how you do it. I mean, I just don't know how it necessarily works. So I don't necessarily understand how the whole thing works when it comes to restructuring contracts. So All right, let's talk about Grove Stewart. Grove Stewart. Let's talk. We don't need to understand the cap and restructures anymore. Hopefully, Tillis makes cap just disappear. It's all just a dream. Will Smith. Where did you get that from, AJ Brooks? I'm really curious. Corbett is still on the team, Mad Chatter. Corbett is still on the team. All right, let's talk about this man right here, Mr. Grove Stewart. A guy that I think that we need to look into signing because he would definitely help improve this Panthers defense, okay? The word on the street is that also the Panthers need more improvement, particularly in stopping the run, correct? Right? So now, according to experts, one free agent that I have taken initiative to look on to is Grove Stewart, okay? And I think we need to add someone to help out Derek Brown on that front line. And I think Grove Stewart, who's 6'4", 315-pound defensive tackle, is known for being one of the best run stuffers in the league. His stats speak for themselves. In 7 years with the Indianapolis Colts, he racked up over 280 tackles, 35 quarterback hits, 30 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks, and 7 pass defended. And 1 forced fumble. So, but that's not all. According to Aaron Schatz, okay, of the ESPN, signing Stewart could help address the Panthers' run defense DVOA, which right now is ranked dead last in the league, okay, because Stewart's ability to take on double teams, that's what could help the Carolina Panthers pass rushers get to the quarterback. There's a method to my madness here, guys. Okay? So he's great against the pass rush. He helps out the pass rush because he gets double teamed, but he also stuffs the run. So you might be wondering, well, how much would it cost to sign this guy? Okay? Well, for a multi-year deal, he could be asking for somewhere around the range of 40 to 45 million in 3 years. I know that's a long shot because we're already having difficulty signing Brian Burns. But again, we need to sign a guy like this to help out defensive lineup. Point blank period. That's all I'm getting at here. Okay, I'm throwing suggestions. I wouldn't say that or hypotheticals. Okay, here. So I think getting a guy like Grover Stewart would be a key piece to this defense. Because if he's getting double team, who's defending Derek Brown? Who's defending Frankie Louvu? And for some miracle, Brian Burns is on this team. Who's defending Brian Burns? I mean, that would be insane if you had those 4 guys on this team. But again, these are all hypotheticals. We're all talking about hypotheticals here. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Okay. I wasn't sure what that is. What if the Panthers release Taylor Moton post-June cut? If it will save us about $18 million. Yeah, and I saw that too. Marcos. I saw that on Twitter, actually. Spot tracker. Black Mamba to releasing him. I don't know if that would save. To your question here. Hold on. Let me find that video of Icky too. I'm gonna bring that up. For there he is. Okay. I'm gonna share that screen here in a minute. So to this question right here, Black Mamba, let me share this screen and share my screen to this instead. So Taylor Moton, okay, we were just talking about some restructures and contracts. So what if the Panthers release Taylor Moton? I don't know if it would save 18, but this is the closest thing I can get to it. No, it only saves 5. So releasing him would not do us any good. Okay. Releasing him would not do us any good. We actually would be better off restructuring his contract because we save 6. But it does not say we save 18 million. At least for the year 2024. It only says that if we release him, we only save, it says 5. So there's the answer to that question. And then here is the videos of Icky.
Big athlete. Let's go. Hey, just know that I'm. This is it's the race everybody wants to see. Calvin versus X. Now this the race. I'm just gonna give you a set go. I'm just giving you a go. Go. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
So Icky's getting some work in with Jared Judy and Calvin Ridley. There's a quick video of that. Let's talk about some NFL Combine. Okay. Did Fitch just give players blank checks? I don't know, man. I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's talk about the wide receiver position real quick. Okay. So let's talk about the wide receiver position real quick. And I'm going to use the NFL draft buzz to talk about these guys. But I'm going to tell you my top 10 because I haven't put my draft board completely together yet. And of course, I watched the NFL Combine. Obviously, as the Carolina Panthers, we are looking to find some wide receiver prospects to obviously bring into this team. And obviously, the biggest need is here. One of the biggest needs here is the wide receiver position, because of course we've had issues of guys getting open. So for me, this draft class is so broad, and there's going to be a lot of guys that we're going to target here, right? And he can use all the help he can get. And it's not every day that you come across a draft class as deep and talented as this one. And the Panthers need to take full advantage of this team or of this opportunity when it comes to this scouting combine. Okay, sorry about that. So the NFL Combine recently took place. I don't know if y'all watched it. We obviously got to see the display of these wide receivers. Now, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, we didn't get to see out there. We did get to see Roma Duzier, Brian Thomas was out there, Troy Franklin, Ladd Munkin, Adonia Mitchell, Keon Coleman, Jermaine Burton, Xavier Worthy. Those guys were out there. I mean, there was a list of guys out there. And after watching these guys at the combine, I still got Marvin Harrison at top of the list, okay, from Ohio State. But number 2, I still have Malik Neighbors as well. Number 3, I have actually Brian Thomas out of OSU. Number 4 on my list, I have Roma Duzier, okay, from Washington. 5, I actually, because they have Troy Franklin, I actually have Keon Coleman at number 5. Number 6, I'm actually going to have Adonia Mitchell there from Texas. 7, I would actually have his brother in arms, Xavier Worthy, Then I would have Troy Franklin at 8. Jalen Polk at Washington at 9. And that rounds up my top 10. Okay. One name, though, to me out of this draft class was Ladd Monken, who has been projected higher than most. Okay. So here's my new top 10. I'm going to go. Here's my new top 10. This is my new top 10. Now, and this is just what I believe in after watching these combines. Actually, here. I wrote it down. So I'm going to post it in the chat. So here's my top 10 right here. So after watching what I saw, Marvin Harrison from Ohio State, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas out of LSU, 1, 2. I got 2, 3. Ladd Monken at 4, followed by Roma Duzier from Washington at 5. Coleman at 6. Okay. Coleman at 6. Donia Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, 7 and 8. Troy Franklin at 9. Jalen Polk at 10. Those are my top 10 now after this NFL Combine. Because but to me, the one name that surprised me the most was Ladd Monken, who has been projected higher than most. His skill set is tailor-made for, really, to me, for Dave Canales' offensive scheme. His route running, his ability to create separation is very impressive. That 4.4 time. Obviously, he's had comparisons to Adam Thielen. Obviously, I think he's about the same size, if I'm not mistaken. I know NFL Buzz has him listed here as a 4.39, but he didn't run a 4.39. He ran 4.4 both times, if I'm not mistaken. But this draft class is so deep. There's so much value in this draft class, and the possibilities are endless that the Panthers can't afford to get their decisions wrong here. And honestly, if you look at this list, even over here from their top 12. I mean, and then even after that, you still got, even if those 12 guys are off the board, let's just say, for example, the NFL Draft Bud's right, and they got those got first 6, right? They go in the first round, second round, let's say even possibility to third. I mean, you still got, let's say we're in the third round, all those guys, that top 12 list off of the NFL Buzz that we just saw was off the board. We go in the third round. You still got guys like Ricky Parasol, Devontae Walker, Polk, Leggett, Malik Washington, which I know Josh in the chat loves, Jalen McMillan, Johnny Wilson. I even like Jeremiah Thrash. I mean, these guys, unfortunately, for me, though, Leggett did end up only running that. He ended up running the 4.39. That first one wasn't very good. He ran a 4.47, but then followed it up with a 4.39. So, but that Xavier, I mean, the highlight, of course, of the whole draft was Xavier Worthy running a 4.21. I mean, that's just insane. That is just insane. A guy running a 4.21. It's a possibility. I mean, based off of NFL Buzz, and then of course my list. I mean, I have Xavier Worthy at not at 8 on this list, on my new list. So they've got him at 12. So it all depends, man. I mean, you might be able to get Xavier Worthy at that position at 33. You might be able to. You never know. Let me dive into some guys, though, that I really, really want to talk about. First off, I want to talk about Keon Coleman real quick. Okay, guys? So Keon Coleman, and we're going to talk about Xavier Worthy, too. That's the next guy I want to talk about. Both of them made the most noise out of this wide receiver class at the Combine. Okay. And for good reason, because as a pair of receiver prospects, they are both on that radar for many teams heading into the 2024 draft. Now, when asked about the possibility of playing with Bryce Young, because they both got asked, joining the Panthers, both players had interesting things to say. Keon Coleman spoke about the dynamic he could bring to the team's offense, right, offering his speed, reliability, ability to score touchdowns. Meanwhile, when we talk about Xavier Worthy, so let's go back to Xavier Worthy real quick and bring him up. When we talk about Xavier Worthy, his chemistry with Bryce Young and how he can be a key receiver for the young for Young, and much like he said basically how Jamison Williams was in college for him. So it's clear that both Coleman and Worthy have a lot to offer any team, but it remains to be seen whether they'll end up come draft day, right? So if the Panthers do end up selecting one of these receivers, whether it's Worthy or Coleman, they'll be getting a player who can bring, I think, some unique skill sets to the team. Both are kind of, obviously Worthy's that speedy, really reminds me more of I feel like Xavier Worthy kind of reminds me of a Tyreek Hill-esque, right? You can put him on the outside, inside. They say that Charlie Jones, his comparison's been getting Marvin Mims, Jordan Addison. I mean, I could kind of see that too, but with that 4.21 speed, it really, to me, I really could see a Tyreek Hill kind of guy out of him, just because, not because of, he's obviously taller than I think Tyreek Hill, right? I think Tyreek is shorter than he is. How tall is Tyreek? He's 5'10". So it's just an inch taller. So these are Xavier Worthy would be, or Keon Coleman, I think, are definitely guys. Like I said, I think Xavier Worthy's more like that Tyreek Hill-esque kind of guy. I think Keon Coleman is more that, like, because of him being 6'3", 213. People who are getting similar comparisons, Cedric Tillman, they're saying Malachi Polk. For him being 6'3", 215, I could see maybe like a Mike Evans-esque, maybe Mike Evans-esque kind of guy, but definitely some talented wide receivers. But the issue here is that the Panthers have to approach this NFL draft class very carefully, because I don't want them to I really don't want them to try to trade up to get a wide receiver or something like that, because just for one position, right? I know, because the thing is that there's no point of them, and it's the reason why I'm saying trading up for the wide receiver position is because this draft class is so stacked, right? Because I know we're in dire need of some help in that position, and I know it's probably might be tempting for us to trade up, but I argue the fact that trading up for a wide receiver, I think, would be a big mistake for the Panthers. The reason why I say that is, well, it's, for starters, the odds are that a handful of talented playmakers, I think, will still be on the board at number 33. Okay. So let's also not forget about the Panthers' limited draft capital that they already have. So to me, it makes little sense to move up from the spot that they're in, especially when there are several spots in the roster they need to upgrade already. All right. But this 2024 draft class is so deep. There are plenty of potential candidates that we could go after, right? So Keon Coleman's one, right? We talked about him just a second ago. Lad Monken out of Georgia is another, right? Troy Franklin, many more, right? Many more to pick from the litter here. So let's not forget about the Panthers' free agency. All right. They got to fulfill those needs, whether with the wide receiver, offensive line, free agency, that they can focus on taking the best player available in the draft. After all, this isn't a team on the cusp of obviously contending, right? Because there are several spots on this roster that need upgraded. Okay. So drafting for need over best player available to me would be silly, especially coming off a 2-15 season. Because now let's talk about some of the standout receivers from that combine. Like we were saying, Xavier Worthy, 4.21 40. That was off of his second attempt. He ran a 4.25 before that, right? Which is just insane. So his draft stock has obviously shot through the roof. Then let's not forget about his teammate, Adonai Mitchell, okay, who also has turned heads with his fourth. He got 4.35, 6'2", 205, who's could be end up being a big body wide receiver. But when I saw him on TV, he looked pretty skinny to me. That's just me. But all in all, I think the Panthers must remain patient and trust their process. I think that there's no reason for them to try to trade up, especially if they're going to go after a wide receiver because of how deep this draft class is. But if they're going to try to go after a guy like, but if they were trying to build that offensive lineup, they really wanted to get someone to replace Taylor Moton, or if they were going to try to get somebody to replace Derek Brown or Brian Burns, or maybe they're going to get another corner, and they wanted to trade up for these positions that are of need, but that are very slim in this draft. I mean, I would say then, okay, that might make a little bit more sense. Okay. But in this draft, like for the offensive line, so let me make something very clear here. Basically, let's talk about the centers first. Okay. Centers only. The only person I'm trading up to get in the first round, because I think that Jackson Powers-Johnson will go in the first round. That is the only person I would say from the offensive line standpoint I'm trading up to go get. Okay. Basically, once we get through this 5, which because NFL Buzz and I actually are pretty much the same when it comes to this position, the center. I gave you all my top 5 centers. After these 5 are off the board, it's very slim pickings. It's very slim pickings. You could say Drake, Nuchin, or this Tanner Bortoloni. They might be. They could be some guys that maybe we could target in the later rounds. I'd rather try to get somebody like either Zach Frazier or Van Pran, of course. I'd rather just try to get Zach Frazier in the second or get Van Pran in the third or the fourth. If we're talking about guards, but it's slim pickings after those top 5 right there go off the board. If we go to guards only, can I go to the guards only? All right, let's try offensive line again. Let's do guard. Let me click on guards only. For me, once Christian Haynes, Cooper Beebe, Zach Zenter, Trevor Keegan, Christian Mahonigan, really after those guys go off the board, it's slim pickings. Javon Cohen's okay, but he's not. I haven't seen him come off the board until like the 6th or 7th round. So, there are certain positions that we might want to try to trade up for. I think edge rushers too. I mean, we're not going to, if you're going to go after Dallas Turner, or you can get Chop or Darius. I think in the second round, you could get those guys in the second round. Adizes Isaac, you could get in the second round. Braylon Trice, you could get maybe. I've seen him go in the 4th round in some mock drafts. Yeah, mock drafts are hypotheticals, guys. So remember that. So it all depends, man. It all depends on how this draft is going to pan out. Just so we're clear, Worthy has taken multiple screens behind the line and taken them to the house. Make the team fit Bryce, right? That's what Canal said we would do. And he fits. I think he fits too. So let's talk about this guy, though. I want to talk about this guy today. some other guys I wanted to talk about here. And then I'm going to finish that up. This will finish it off for today. Chris Jenkins could be following in his father's footsteps, a potential draft pick for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers might have their eyes set on a familiar name, okay, for this draft class. Obviously, if you remember Chris Jenkins Sr., who was a former defensive tackle for the team from 2001 through 2007. Now we have his son here coming out of Michigan is trying to follow his father's footsteps. What makes him an intriguing defensive lineman, in my opinion, from the Michigan Wolverines. I like this guy. He turned some heads at the NFL Combine, posted an impressive stat, has garnered some attention from the Panthers GM Dan Morgan, who played with his father during his time with the Panthers. Has been projected a second-round pick. At the Combine, he only helped himself at the Combine. So at first, I don't think he was predicted second round. I think he was predicted like third, maybe fourth round. But what makes this kid so special is he comes from a family of legendary defensive tackles. His father was a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's inherited talent, work ethic, determination from his father. His uncle possesses as well, which has helped him become a standout player at the college level. Jenkins possesses a rare pedigree with a college football national title under his belt. His father, who was a 4-time Pro Bowler defensive tackle, who may have a smaller frame than for his position, but he plays with good strength, one-on-one power swaps. He can neutralize single blocks, but has trouble fighting back to his muddy gap against double teams. So his motor stays engaged. He's frequently running down ball carriers. He chases quarterbacks by the end of the play. I think he would be great here. I think he would benefit our defensive line to help out, Derek Brown. And I still think that, we need to build up this defensive line to help out Derek Brown because he's just doing it by himself. The mutant. What's up, Anna? Do you think Bryce Do you think if Bryce Young happens to not do good again, he may end up gone on traded off season, or will they give him another year or let him go? If he doesn't pan out this year, if he doesn't at least improve this year, okay, I'm not asking him to take us to the playoffs this year because that's not going to happen. Okay, I'm realistic. So if any of you Panthers fans that think that just this one off season that it's going to change things, no, it's not. But to your question, Trebo, I think that if he does not at least improve this year, I need to see him throw for over 3,500 yards. I need over 3,500 yards. I need at least 20 plus touchdowns and less interceptions. If he can give me over 3,500 yards, I would say 22, 23 touchdowns and like 10 to 12 interceptions, then I'd say let's give him another year. Okay? But I have to see improvement. Okay? I have to see improvement. But no, I don't think they will if he doesn't at least show improvement, because again, we are in full rebuild mode. We shall see, but I don't see it happening unless he just doesn't improve. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm hopping off. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. We were on for over an hour and a half. Sorry for the internet troubles. Again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream, showing your support. Make sure you pound the like button, subscribe, comment, share the live. Anyway, any of those things that are free definitely help out. So, but we had a lot to talk about. So, but again, I apologize for the internet. We have to figure out what's going on with that. So, I'm going to hop off of here. Peace.